Obama's belief in the power of hope stands as one of the most defining themes of his speech. He reminds the audience that hope is not just a fleeting emotion or an abstract idea. It is a driving force that has shaped every major turning point in history. Hope is what pushes people to rise after failure, to continue striving even when the world tells them it's impossible. Obama's second key message centers on the idea of personal responsibility and the power of individual accountability. He emphasizes that every person holds the key to their own progress and cannot rely solely on others to define or determine their success. He explains that it is easy to blame circumstances, luck, or outside forces when life becomes challenging, but true strength lies in taking ownership of one's actions and decisions. Success, he insists, is not a matter of privilege or chance. It is a product of effort, discipline, and consistency. Obama's words serve as a reminder that no government program, leader, or external system can replace the personal commitment and self-discipline required to achieve greatness. He urges individuals to look inward instead of outward, to ask themselves what they can do differently, how they can work harder, and how they can use their talents to make an impact. Obama speaks with conviction about the importance of self-leadership, describing it as the foundation of all meaningful achievement. Leadership, he notes, does not begin in politics, business, or public office. It begins within the individual. It begins with the decision to act with integrity, to show up with purpose, and to strive for excellence even when no one is watching. He reminds the audience that those who achieve true success often do so because they refuse to make excuses. They understood that accountability and persistence build character, and character is what sustains success. Obama challenges everyone to stop waiting for perfect conditions and to start using what they already have. The message is clear. Greatness is not reserved for a chosen few. It belongs to those willing to take responsibility for their own growth. Throughout this part of his speech, Obama also addresses the importance of resilience in the face of setbacks. He acknowledges that life will test everyone, and there will be failures, rejections, and moments of doubt. Yet, it is in those moments that character is revealed. The measure of a person, he says, is not in how they act when things are easy, but in how they respond when life gets hard. He encourages listeners to stand firm, to learn from mistakes, and to turn obstacles into lessons. Ultimately, his words inspire a mindset of ownership and perseverance, one that refuses to surrender to circumstances and instead takes control of destiny with courage, discipline, and unwavering determination. Obama's third key message focuses on the power of unity and the essential role of empathy in building a stronger, more compassionate society. He reminds the audience that progress is only possible when people come together, when they choose to see beyond divisions and recognize the humanity in one another. In a world often torn apart by political conflicts, racial differences, and cultural misunderstandings, Obama calls for a renewal of collective purpose. He insists that unity is not about everyone thinking the same way. It is about respecting each other's differences while working toward common goals. True unity, he explains, requires humility, patience, and the willingness to listen. It means standing together even when it's difficult, even when opinions clash, because progress cannot be achieved in isolation. He warns that division and hatred are among the greatest threats to any nation. When people stop seeing one another as fellow human beings and start labeling others as enemies, they lose the moral foundation that holds society together. Obama argues that empathy is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to care about someone else's pain, to understand their perspective, and to extend kindness even when it's not convenient. He shares that empathy allows communities to heal, nations to progress, and humanity to survive crises. By putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, we begin to realize that we share more similarities than differences. The struggles of one group are connected to the struggles of another, and only by acknowledging this shared responsibility can true progress be made. Obama also reminds the audience that empathy must be practiced, not just preached. It's not enough to say we care about others. We must show it through our actions. Whether by helping a neighbor, supporting a stranger, or simply choosing kindness over judgment, every act of empathy creates ripples of change. He emphasizes that history's greatest movements, from civil rights to global peace efforts, were built on empathy and unity. These values gave people the courage to stand together for justice, even when the odds seemed impossible. Obama's message is deeply human at its core. The measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable members. He urges everyone to reject indifference, to bridge divides, and to remember that when we lift each other up, we all rise together. His words serve as a timeless call to replace anger with understanding and separation with solidarity. Obama's fourth key point revolves around the transformative power of education and lifelong learning. He passionately reminds the audience that knowledge is the foundation of progress, and that education is the most powerful weapon one can use to change the world. Obama believes that education is not merely about academic achievement or collecting degrees. It is about developing critical thinking, curiosity, and the ability to understand and improve the world around us. He urges young people to embrace learning as a lifelong journey, not something that ends in the classroom. The moment one stops learning, he explains, is the moment one stops growing. In a rapidly changing world, where technology, society, and ideas evolve constantly, the hunger for knowledge becomes essential to stay relevant and empowered. He emphasizes that education does not only shape careers, it shapes character. It teaches discipline, patience, and empathy. Obama highlights that true education builds both the mind and the heart, nurturing individuals who are not only skilled but also ethical and socially responsible. He challenges students and young listeners to seek more than just good grades. Instead, he asks them to seek understanding, to question deeply, and to use their education to solve real-world problems. He reminds them that education gives them the power to think for themselves, to distinguish truth from falsehood, and to stand up for justice and equality. In his view, an educated mind is not just about knowing facts, it's about having the courage to question, to imagine, and to create change. Obama also stresses that learning should be accessible to all, regardless of background or economic status. He acknowledges that not everyone starts from the same place, but he insists that effort, persistence, and the will to learn can overcome even the hardest barriers. He shares his own story as an example, recalling how education opened doors and expanded his world. He points out that knowledge gives people freedom, the freedom to dream, to decide, and to determine their future. Moreover, he encourages adults to continue learning, to adapt to new realities, and to never think it's too late to grow. Education, in his words, is a lifelong commitment to bettering oneself and one's community. Obama's message is clear. Learning is not just preparation for life. It is life itself, a continuous process that fuels innovation, empowers minds, and builds a brighter, more just world for all. In his final key point, Obama delivers a heartfelt reminder to never lose faith in humanity or in the future, no matter how uncertain or challenging the times may seem. He acknowledges that the world faces many obstacles: inequality, injustice, conflict, and climate change. But he insists that despair is not an option. Obama's message is one of endurance and optimism, grounded in the belief that every generation holds the power to shape a better tomorrow. He speaks about the importance of believing in the capacity of people to change, to grow, and to build something meaningful together. Hope, he says, is the anchor that keeps societies from collapsing under the weight of hardship. Without faith in the future, people lose the motivation to act, to dream, and to fight for something better. His words inspire listeners to hold on to that faith even when the odds appear insurmountable, because history shows that every moment of progress began with someone refusing to give up. Obama encourages individuals to see themselves as active participants in shaping the future rather than passive observers. He reminds his audience that every voice matters, every vote counts, and every act of kindness makes a difference. Change does not always come through grand gestures. It often begins in small, consistent acts of courage. Whether it's standing up for what's right, helping a neighbor, or speaking out against injustice, these moments of moral bravery accumulate to create lasting transformation. He urges people to reject cynicism, the belief that nothing can change as it is one of the greatest enemies of progress. Instead, he calls for persistence and collective effort, assuring that hope multiplied through action becomes an unstoppable force. Obama's message extends beyond politics. It touches on the essence of humanity. He emphasizes that even in dark times, there are countless individuals doing good, fighting for peace, and helping others without recognition. These people, he says, are the real proof that goodness still exists in the world. He asks the audience to be among those who inspire rather than divide, who build rather than destroy. His closing thought is both empowering and humbling. The future is not something that simply happens. It is something we build, moment by moment, through our choices and our compassion. Obama leaves listeners with a sense of moral responsibility and renewed confidence that the best chapters of humanity are still waiting to be written, as long as we believe, persist, and act with purpose.